The ring box felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in my pocket as I knelt down in front of Ellie. What started as a stupid dare was about to change everything when I saw tears forming in her eyes. "Yes," she whispered, before I could even finish my fake proposal. That's when I realized, this wasn't a joke to her. And maybe, it wasn't really a joke to me either, asterisk. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more real-life relationship stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew about love. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for how this one ends. I've known Ellie since we were freshmen in college. We met during orientation week when we both reached for the last coffee at the student center. Instead of fighting over it, we decided to split it, and that simple act of compromise became the foundation of our friendship. 5 years later, we were inseparable. We'd both graduated, found jobs in the same city, and even lived in apartments just 3 blocks from each other. Every Friday was our sacred night, takeout, movies, and catching up on our weeks. It was comfortable. It was safe. It was everything I needed. Or so I thought. The idea for the mock proposal came during a night out with our friend group. We were celebrating Ryan's engagement to his girlfriend of 2 years, and everyone was feeling sentimental about love. "I can't believe Ryan's getting married before any of us," said Mark, nursing his 3rd beer. "I always thought it would be you and Ellie, Jake." I nearly choked on my drink. "Me and Ellie? We're just friends." The table erupted in laughter. "Just friends who spend every waking moment together," said Sarah, rolling her eyes. "The way she looks at you, Jake, it's obvious." "You're delusional," I said, but something in my chest tightened. "Ellie and I are perfectly happy as friends." "Prove it," challenged Mark. "If you're so sure there's nothing there, propose to her as a joke. If she knows you're kidding, it'll be hilarious. If not..." He wiggled his eyebrows suggestively. I should have said no. I should have recognized the cruelty in such a prank. But 3 drinks in, with my pride on the line, I agreed. "Fine. Next Friday. I'll do it." The week passed in a blur of anxiety and second thoughts. I borrowed a ring from my sister, telling her it was for a short film I was helping a friend with, and practiced what I would say. The plan was simple: propose during our movie night, let her freak out for a second, then laugh it off as a joke from the guys. We'd have a good laugh, I'd prove there was nothing romantic between us, and everything would go back to normal. Friday arrived, and I was a nervous wreck. Ellie showed up at my apartment at 7 p.m. sharp, carrying Thai food and a bottle of wine. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, setting the food down on my coffee table. "Bad day at work?" "Something like that," I mumbled. We ate dinner, and I barely tasted the food. Ellie filled the silence with stories about her week, her animated expressions making me smile despite my nerves. She had this way of talking with her whole body, hands gesturing, eyes widening, shoulders shrugging. It was endearing, and I found myself staring more than once. "Earth to Jake," she said, waving her hand in front of my face. "You haven't heard a word I've said, have you?" "Sorry," I said, shaking my head. "Just distracted." "Clearly." She smiled, but there was concern in her eyes. "Want to talk about it?" "Actually," I said, my heart pounding, "there is something I want to talk about." This was it. The moment of truth. I slid off the couch onto one knee, pulling the ring box from my pocket. Ellie's eyes widened, her fork clattering to her plate. "Ellie," I began, my voice shaking more than I expected. "We've been in each other's lives for 5 years now, and I can't imagine a day without you in it." Her hands flew to her mouth, eyes glistening with tears. I should have stopped there. I should have seen the raw emotion on her face and realized this wasn't a joke anymore. But I pressed on. "You're my best friend, my confidant, the person I want to share everything with." So, I was wondering. I opened the box, revealing the simple silver band inside. Will you? Yes, she whispered, tears now streaming down her face. Yes, Jake. Of course I will. The world stopped. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to laugh, to push me away playfully, to roll her eyes and call me an idiot. She wasn't supposed to say yes. And I wasn't supposed to feel this overwhelming rush of, what was it? Relief? Joy? Terror? Ellie, I said slowly, still on one knee. I know this is sudden, she interrupted, wiping at her tears. And maybe you think I'm crazy for answering so quickly. But Jake, I've been in love with you for years. I just never thought you felt the same way. The weight of what I'd done crashed down on me. This wasn't a harmless prank anymore. This was Ellie's heart, laid bare before me, vulnerable and trusting. And I was about to shatter it. I need to tell you something, I said, closing the ring box and sitting beside her on the couch. This proposal, it started as a joke. Her face fell, confusion replacing joy. A joke? I explained everything, the dare, the borrowed ring, the plan to laugh it off. With each word, her expression hardened, the light in her eyes dimming. So this was all to prove a point, she asked when I finished, her voice eerily calm. To show your friends that I don't have feelings for you? I'm so sorry, Ellie. I didn't think. No, you didn't think, she said, standing abruptly. You didn't think about how humiliating this would be for me. You didn't think about our friendship. You didn't think about me at all. She grabbed her jacket and headed for the door. I followed, desperate to fix what I'd broken. Ellie, please. I made a terrible mistake. But when you said yes, something changed. I felt. Don't, she cut me off, hand on the doorknob. Don't you dare try to make this better by pretending you have feelings for me now. I've spent years loving you in silence, Jake. Years convincing myself that friendship was enough. And in one night, you've made me feel like the biggest fool on the planet. The door slammed behind her, leaving me alone with the weight of what I'd done. The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. Ellie wouldn't answer my calls or texts. She didn't come to our usual hangouts. It was like she'd vanished from my life completely, and the void she left was cavernous. I threw myself into work, trying to distract from the constant ache in my chest. But everything reminded me of her, the coffee shop where we'd meet for breakfast, the bookstore where she'd spend hours browsing, the park bench where we'd sit and talk about nothing and everything. It wasn't until the 3rd week that I finally admitted to myself what everyone else had seen all along: I was in love with Ellie. Not as a friend, not as a companion, but as the person I wanted to build my life with. The realization didn't come as a lightning bolt but as a quiet certainty, like recognizing a truth that had always been there. I needed to tell her, even if she never forgave me. I needed her to know that my feelings were real, not a reaction to guilt or a desperate attempt to salvage our friendship. I went to her apartment on a rainy Tuesday evening, armed with nothing but the truth. When she opened the door, the sight of her nearly knocked the wind out of me. She looked tired, her usual vibrancy dimmed, but still beautiful in a way that made my heart ache. "What do you want, Jake?" she asked, not inviting me in. 5 minutes, I pleaded. Just give me 5 minutes, and if you still want me to leave after that, I will. I promise. She hesitated, then stepped aside. Her apartment looked the same as always, but something felt different. There was a heaviness in the air, a tension that had never existed between us before. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," I began, standing awkwardly in her living room. "About us, about that night, about everything." And? Her arms were crossed, a barrier between us. And I realized something that I should have seen years ago. "I'm in love with you, Ellie. Not because you said yes to a fake proposal, not because I feel guilty, but because you're the person I want to wake up to every morning and fall asleep beside every night. You're the one I want to share my victories and failures with." You're it for me. She didn't respond, her expression unreadable. I know I hurt you, I continued. I know I betrayed your trust in the worst possible way. And I'm not asking for forgiveness, not yet. I'm just asking for a chance to prove that my feelings are real. That we could be real. How do I know this isn't another joke? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. How do I trust you again? You don't, I said honestly. Not right away. Trust has to be rebuilt, and I'm willing to put in the work. Day by day, moment by moment, for as long as it takes. She was quiet for a long time, studying my face as if searching for any sign of deception. Finally, she spoke. I'm still angry with you. I know. And hurt. I know that too. And I can't just go back to how things were. I don't want to go back, I said. I want to move forward. Together. If you'll have me. The smallest smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. I'm not saying yes to anything right now. But I'm not saying no either. It was a start. A fragile, tentative start, but more than I deserved. We began again, slowly. Coffee dates where we talked about everything except us. Movie nights with friends as buffers. Gradually, the wall between us began to crumble. She laughed at my jokes again. I caught her looking at me when she thought I wouldn't notice. 3 months after the fake proposal, I asked her on a real date. No jokes, no dares, just me asking the woman I loved if she would give me the honor of taking her to dinner. She said yes. 6 months after that, I proposed again. This time, there was no borrowed ring, no ulterior motive. Just a man on one knee, offering his heart to the woman who had held it all along. She made me wait for her answer, a playful punishment for our rocky start. But when she finally said yes, it was with the same certainty she'd shown that first night, only now we both knew exactly what we were saying yes to. Our wedding was small, just close friends and family. Mark, the instigator of the fake proposal, gave a toast that had everyone in tears from laughter and emotion. To Jake and Ellie, he said, raising his glass. Who needed a fake proposal to realize what the rest of us have known for years, that some friendships are just love stories in disguise. Looking back now, I'm grateful for that misguided prank. Not because of the pain it caused, but because it forced us both to confront feelings we'd been hiding, from each other and from ourselves. Sometimes, the worst mistakes lead to the best outcomes, if you're brave enough to face the consequences and fight for what matters. So if you're watching this and wondering about that friend who makes your heart beat a little faster, who knows you better than anyone else, who feels like home, maybe it's time to ask yourself if there's something more there. Not with a fake proposal, of course, learn from my mistakes. But with honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to risk your heart for the chance at something extraordinary. Because sometimes, the love of your life has been right beside you all along, just waiting for you to open your eyes and see what's been there from the beginning. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life relationship stories that remind us all that love, in all its messy, complicated glory, is always worth fighting for.